It's the 3rd of the 9th, 2024. The time is 2 minutes past 10. And in the weird and wacky world of the news cycle that is the one that F's, we are talking front wing gate. Scandal is abound yet again. And the context for all of this is key, because in the one that F's, there is always a constant need to push against the rules and the regs as set out by the FIA, the regulatory body of the premier motorsport formula in the world. This is the oldest story in F1 history. Please see DOS before it. Please see blown off diffuser. Please see double diffuser. Each and every single time, the goatiest minds in the world, if not Formula One, are trying to find margin, seeking alpha in financial services terms. What do you mean, Cameron? Well, every millisecond counts in Formula One, right? And there are billions of dollars at stake each and every single time. That's why you have Ross Brawn, an F1 sage that he is, saying that you read the rules once, first to see what they do say, and then you do a second comb through to see what they don't say, to understand how you can best go about exploiting for those gaps. Face value as far as the rules and regs, not a thing, never, not ever. Now, however, on the back of the Italian Grand Prix, we get a revisiting theme, being front wing settings. Why are the front wings so important, I hear you say? Well, for this reason. Lest we forget that we are in a ground effect era, and a fundamental characteristic that loses these times, therefore, is understeer on combined entry into these corners, not least low minimum speed turns. Why then does that mean that front wing is so important as far as its ability to work efficiently? Because that means time. You want to go quick on the straight and minimize for drag, but when you enter a rascas as an example, you want to enable the front wing. It needs to do its job. Therefore, in an ideal world, if rules and regs weren't a thing, you would have yourself a flexi wing, a wing that comes up like a flap as you head into these slow minimum speed turns. Again, please see as you exhibit a rascas. However, the FIA have stated, for the avoidance of doubt, that this isn't active aero time. What you need to do is to be able to pass load tests. They don't want flexible wings, but as F1 teams do each and every single time, they are pushing up against the rules and regs as they are written. Why? Because there is lap time. And this, of course, means that these teams have been pushing up against the boundaries as far as flexi wings all season long, for the past couple of years even, to be precise. Red Bull first started talking about flexi wings earlier this season, saying that Mercedes have seemed to be bringing themselves a new front wing each and every single Grand Prix, because they understand the importance, and they understand that if they can nail that, that there is material lap time rooted in it. Now we have ourselves a new protest. This is a conversation that's happening in real time, courtesy of Autosport. Helmut Marko has said he suspects that something might be going on with McLaren and Mercedes front wing, and that they both might be flexi. And if you don't believe him, you only need to go and watch Lando Norris's onboard of his pole lap, right? Because something is going on. This is a problem in extent, however, not kinds. If you check out Lando Norris's front wing and how it moves and flexes from the straight at Monza, going into chicane 1 and 2, literally like an aeroplane wing. It's bonkers. Not one of these. As you're looking from the onboard, the front wing does one of these. It's material. You can't even not see it. Now, the FIA need to get their hands around this, but if the FIA are anything, it is consistently inconsistent. They're epitomised, no, characterised by their incompetence over time. Regulatory capture, indeed. They've said in this case, notwithstanding Article 11.1.2, due to address the asymmetric braking that was rumoured to be happening up and down the paddock. They've said that what they don't want to do is come out and amend the rules and regulations in real time. What are we doing? How can the FIA say this, having only a couple of weeks ago just amended for Article 11.1.2? Now they say that the load tests are sufficient. This is bonkers. I don't even know what to say at this point. How can the load test be sufficient when I can see and you can see and everybody can see from Lando Norris's onboard that his front wing is doing one of these, literally like an airplane flap? Again, if they're happy with that, then I'm happy with that. But Autosport writes that Ferrari and Red Bull want clarification now about the FIA and how far flexi wings can be exploited in F1 amid fresh intrigue over the designs of McLaren and Mercedes. That front wing, for the avoidance of doubt, being super important for lap time in ground effect era, being that you can maximize your minimum speed through A, chicane number 1 at a Monza. 2, you want to be funneling that clean airflow underneath the ground effect car into your Venturi tunnels. Jonathan Noble of Autosport continues, flexi wings have become a talking point this season as teams have found making use of this area key to overcoming some of the intrinsic balance problems that dog the current generation of ground effect cars. In response to growing interest in the paddock, however, the FIA began a series of video checks at Belgium to see the extent to which these front wings were flexing, particularly in the hands of the silver arrowed car, the boys and girls from Brackley and Brixworth, and the papaya ruled car. The governing body made it clear, continues Autosport, that its move was an information gathering exercise. Bloody Nora, I can't even take them serious as I read this. What are they doing? Listen, I don't know how the FIA can drop the ball more than they already have done this season. But again, they outdo themselves. The ultimate aim, continues Autosport.com, is to work out if the current load test used to check the flexibility of the wings remains fit for purpose. Well, clearly it is not. Just go and look at the onboard of Lando Norris's pole lap. One of these, literally. It is incredible. If they're allowing that level of flexing, then they need to have a word with themselves and check their rules again, in my humble opinion. The FIA has said several times that it has no interest in making any rule changes this season, and it feels that it needs to react that this will only take place from 2025 again. What happened to this? Why are we so consistently inconsistent with the way that we treat these rules? Regulatory body of the one that F's. This is ridiculous. However, growing competitive form from Mercedes and McLaren teams in recent months, allied to some interesting onboard footage of wings flexing, rotating and flapping at last weekend's Italian Grand Prix, has prompted competitors to question whether their designs go too far. James Allison has chimed in, saying, listen, the rules are the rules are the rules, but we are always going to have that friction. Because why? Because this is Formula One. He says that I think all of us are trying to pass the FIA's flexibility test. They put loads on and you've got to not move by more than an amount, provided you can do that and provided your wing is just bending like a thing bends when it has load on, then it's no drama to be faced by the governing body. Christian Horner chimes in and says he will trust the decision of the governing body. However, if other people are using it and there is time in it, then Christian Horner says we're going to jump on board. Expect to see then a more flexible wing, a more efficient front wing from Red Bull at the next couple of Grand Prix, being Baku and Singapore. Helmut Marko, however, has chimed in and he said this. He thinks that the FIA need to check out McLaren and Mercedes, that they might be doing something, as F1 teams have a habit of doing, something that very dodgy, something very underhanded, with a view to maximise and game the system, optimise for their car's lap time and combine entry of lower minimum speed turns. But Helmut, I put this forth to you, sir. This is the one that F's. What else would you expect, champ? This is what F1s do and have been doing all of my life that I've been watching F1. Flexible wings, DOS, double diffuser, it doesn't matter. Again, for the avoidance of doubt, Ross Brawn, the legend, one of the goatiest F1 minds to have ever F1, said this. You read the rules once to see what they say, and the second time to see what they don't say. Why? So you can go away and exploit for any gaps. Regulatory tax avoidance equivalence. Ugh, what are we doing here?